My beloved child, stop right where you are. Do not surrender today. I know you feel completely surrounded. I know the pressure against your mind and your spirit has reached a terrifying, suffocating peak. You are looking at the circumstances of your life, and your human logic is telling you that there is absolutely no way out. But I have intercepted your despair tonight to remind you of who I am and to show you exactly what I am about to do. You are standing at the edge of your own personal Red Sea. I see the deep, agonizing exhaustion in your bones. I see how hard you have fought to get to this exact moment. You followed my voice. You walked away from the toxic environments. You left your personal Egypt behind, trusting that I was leading you into a promised land of peace, financial freedom, and emotional healing. But right now, as you look at your reality, it feels as though you have marched directly into a brutal, inescapable trap. Ahead of you is an impossible, roaring ocean of insurmountable obstacles. The bills are piling up, the medical reports are frightening, the relationships seem hopelessly fractured, and there is no bridge, no boat, and no logical human way to cross over. And when you look behind you, your heart races with sheer terror. You can hear the deafening, violent roar of your past catching up to you. The debts, the anxieties, the critics, the generational curses, and the consequences of past mistakes are relentlessly hunting you down, just like Pharaoh's army bearing down on the Israelites. You feel trapped between the waters of impossibility and the chariots of your greatest fears. In the darkness of your room, you have wept and whispered the exact same words the children of Israel cried out to Moses in the wilderness. As it is written, they said to Moses, "Was it because there were no graves in Egypt that you brought us to the desert to die? What have you done to us by bringing us out of Egypt?" Exodus 14:11. You have asked me that same heartbreaking question, haven't you, my child? You have looked up at the heavens and cried, "Lord, did you bring me this far just to let me drown? Did you give me a glimmer of hope just to let me be crushed at the very end? Why would you lead me to a dead end?" Listen to the fierce, protective, roaring truth of your Creator. I do not lead my children into dead ends. I lead them to the stage of miracles. I am close to you right now. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Psalm 34:18. You are not standing at the site of your destruction. You are standing at the exact geographic coordinates of your greatest deliverance. The trap you are looking at was not set for you. It was set by me for your enemies. You must understand the supreme, unsearchable wisdom of the spiritual realm. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. Isaiah 55:8-9. If I had simply destroyed Pharaoh's army while you were still living in Egypt, the surviving forces would have eventually regrouped and enslaved you again. I had to draw them out. I had to let your anxieties, your debts, your spiritual oppressors, and your deepest fears chase you all the way into the wilderness. I had to bring them to the very edge of the water, so that when I finally destroyed them, they would be buried in the depths of the sea, completely and permanently eradicated from your timeline. The chaos you are seeing right now is not a sign of my absence. It is the brilliant, masterful setup for your permanent liberation. I want you to physically take a deep, massive breath right now. Drop your shoulders, release the agonizing tension in your jaw. The panic that is trying to consume you is a liar. I want to speak the exact same command over your life tonight that I spoke to the terrified, weeping Israelites as they stood shivering on the shores of the Red Sea. Moses answered the people, "Do not be afraid. Stand firm, and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today. The Egyptians you see today, you will never see again. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still." Exodus 14:13-14. Read those words again in your spirit, my child. The Egyptians you see today, you will never see again. The chronic, suffocating anxiety you are feeling today, you will never see it again. The generational poverty that has hunted your family line for a century, you will never see it again. The toxic, manipulative cycles of abuse and loneliness that have chased you to this shoreline, once this night is over, you will never ever see them again. I am not just going to give you a temporary escape. I am going to permanently drown the very things that have been trying to destroy your soul. But notice the specific, divine instruction I gave to my people. I did not tell them to start swimming. I did not tell them to hastily build a raft out of the desert wood. I did not tell them to turn around and fight the heavily armed chariots with their bare hands. I told them, stand firm. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. This is the hardest command for human flesh to obey. When your world is falling apart, your survival instinct screams at you to panic, to hustle, to manipulate, to beg, and to force a solution. You think that if you do not desperately claw your way out, you will die. You have relied on your own exhausting human strength for so long that being still feels like giving up. But stillness in my presence is not surrender to the enemy. Stillness is absolute surrender to my sovereignty. Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth. Psalm 46:10. I am commanding you to stop trying to part your own sea. You cannot divide the waters with your own two hands. You cannot pay off a mountain of debt with frantic, sleep-deprived anxiety. You cannot heal a broken heart by constantly reopening the wound. You must let go of the illusion of control. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight. Proverbs 3:5-6. When you truly surrender, when you plant your feet firmly on the sand and look out at the terrifying, impossible ocean in front of you without flinching, you prove to the courts of heaven that your faith is anchored in the rock of ages. And the exact fraction of a second you stand still and trust me, the atmosphere of your life is going to violently and beautifully change. I want you to imagine the scene at the Red Sea. The people were weeping, but then a sound began to echo across the water. It was not the sound of chariots. It was the sound of a rushing, mighty, furious east wind. Then Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and all that night the Lord drove the sea back with a strong east wind and turned it into dry land. The waters were divided. Exodus 14:21. My beloved, beautiful child, I am sending the wind of the Holy Spirit into your circumstances tonight. You may not see the waters part in the very first hour. The miracle at the Red Sea happened all that night. While the Israelites were resting in the dark, shielded by the pillar of fire, the wind was doing the heavy, miraculous lifting. This is why I am telling you not to surrender today. You are judging the outcome of your life based on the darkness of the midnight hour, completely unaware that my wind is already furiously blowing against the waters of your impossibility. I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland. Isaiah 43:19. By the time the sun rises on your tomorrow, the landscape of your reality is going to be unrecognizable. The financial blockade is going to violently split down the middle. The medical impossibility is going to divide. The heavy iron doors of rejection and loneliness are going to be torn off their hinges. I am carving a dry, safe, perfectly illuminated highway right through the center of your greatest fear. But as the waters divide, and as the path of your miraculous deliverance is revealed to you, you are going to face a profound test of your courage. It is one thing to pray for the sea to part. It is an entirely different thing to actually step foot onto the dry seabed, walking between two towering, massive walls of roaring water. Human logic will scream at you that the walls are going to collapse and crush you. The enemy will whisper that the miracle is unstable, that it is too dangerous to walk forward, and that you should just stay on the shore and surrender to the chariots. You must know exactly how to navigate this crossing. You must know the spiritual posture you are required to maintain as you walk through the parted waters. And you must know the specific, ancient promise from my word that will keep the walls of water standing tall until you safely reach the other side. Listen incredibly closely to my next instruction, my brave, chosen child. The way you walk through this open door tomorrow will determine whether you cross into your promised land or paralyze yourself in the middle of the miracle. Breathe in the cool, crisp air of your deliverance, my beautiful, brave child. The wind of my Holy Spirit has blown across the dark waters of your impossibility all night long. The sea that threatened to swallow you whole has been violently, majestically torn in two. The path is open. The miracle is laid bare before your very eyes. But as you stand on the shoreline, feeling the mist on your face and looking at the vast, intimidating corridor carved straight through the center of the ocean, I see the hesitation in your heart. You are looking at the towering, massive walls of roaring water on your right and your left, and your survival brain is panicking. The enemy is whispering a terrifying, paralyzing lie into your ear. Do not step into that path. It is a trap. The walls of water are going to collapse. The miracle is unstable. The moment you walk out there, God will let the ocean crash down and crush you. You have lived in a state of disappointment for so long that you have developed a tragic fear of your own miracles. You are terrified to trust the good things I do for you, because you have been conditioned by the world to believe that the other shoe is always going to drop. I am stepping directly in front of you right now to completely dismantle that fear. Look into my eyes. Listen to the absolute unshakable roar of my sovereignty. I do not build bridges of water just to drown my own children. When I open a door, no man can shut it. When I part a sea, no demon, no circumstance, and no human logic can cause those waters to collapse before you have safely crossed. Listen to the ancient eternal promise I made to you in the book of Isaiah. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you, and when you pass through the rivers, they will not sweep over you. When you walk through the fire, you will not be burned, the flames will not set you ablaze. Isaiah 43:2. This is not a fragile temporary fix. The walls of water are being held back by the very hands that spun the galaxies into existence. You are safe. You are undeniably, profoundly safe. I want you to physically engage your body right now as you prepare to take your first step into this new reality. Wherever you are resting, I want you to literally press your feet firmly against the floor or the mattress. Feel the solid, unyielding architecture beneath you. Do you know what the Israelites felt when they took their first step into the Red Sea? They expected to step into thick, sinking mud. They expected a struggle. But my word reveals a breathtaking detail about the perfection of my miracles. The Israelites went through the sea on dry ground, with a wall of water on their right and on their left. Exodus 14:22. I did not just part the water, I dried the seabed. I sent a wind so powerful that it completely evaporated the mud. I did not deliver them from the ocean just to let them get stuck in the mire. When I rescue you, my child, I do not do a halfway job. The financial breakthrough I am bringing you will not be messy and complicated. It will be a solid, clear path. The emotional healing I am pouring into your chest will not be muddy and confusing. It will be a firm foundation of absolute peace. You are walking on dry ground. Take a massive deep breath in through your nose, expanding your stomach. Hold it for 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. Now, exhale with a sharp, authoritative sigh, and physically drop your shoulders. As you walk forward into the miraculous corridor of your new destiny today, you are going to hear a terrifying sound behind you. You are going to hear the frantic, violent sound of chariots, the cracking of whips, and the angry shouts of the enemy. The toxic people you left behind, the massive debts you are trying to escape, the generational curses, and the cruel voice of your own imposter syndrome are going to pursue you right into the seabed. The enemy is desperate. He sees you walking into your promised land, and he is launching a furious final pursuit to drag you back into the chains of Egypt. When you hear that noise behind you, your human instinct will be to panic. You will want to look over your shoulder. You will feel a sudden, terrifying urge to run, to sprint, to hustle out of fear. But I am giving you a strict divine command today. Do not look back. Do not break your majestic, unhurried pace. You are forgetting who is walking behind you. Let me reveal the invisible cosmic warfare that is happening at your back right now. Before the Israelites even stepped into the sea, I performed a highly classified, majestic maneuver to protect them from the approaching army. Then the angel of God, who had been traveling in front of Israel's army, withdrew and went behind them. The pillar of cloud also moved from in front and stood behind them, coming between the armies of Egypt and Israel. Throughout the night the cloud brought darkness to the one side and light to the other side, so neither went near the other all night long. Exodus 14:19-20. My beautiful, exhausted warrior, you are not the rear guard of your own life. I am. I have physically, spiritually moved my presence from the front of your line to the back of your line. I have placed the towering, blazing pillar of fire directly between you and your pursuers. The anxiety that is chasing you, it is crashing blindly into the blinding fire of my Holy Spirit. The generational curse that is trying to grab your ankles, it is utterly paralyzed in the suffocating darkness I have cast over the enemy's camp. You do not have to turn around and fight your past. You do not have to argue with the toxic people who misunderstood your boundary. You do not have to negotiate with the demons of your own self-doubt. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. Exodus 14:14. Your only assignment today is to keep walking forward in absolute unbothered peace. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. Psalm 23:4. You are walking through the valley of the Red Sea, but the shadow of death cannot touch you, because my blazing light is completely covering your exit. As you continue this majestic, steady walk through the parted waters, you are going to experience a profound psychological and biological shift. The heavy, toxic adrenaline of survival mode is going to drain out of your bloodstream. The frantic, exhausting energy of the slave in Egypt is dying, and the calm, sovereign, unshakable energy of the heir of the kingdom is settling into your bones. You will look at the massive walls of water on your left and your right, and instead of feeling terror, you will feel a breathtaking sense of awe. You will realize that the very circumstances that were meant to drown you are now standing at attention, serving as the majestic walls of your personal corridor to freedom. I take what the enemy meant for evil, and I turn it into the grand architecture of your deliverance. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. Genesis 50:20. But as you reach the exact center of this miraculous crossing, and as the physical world outside your window prepares to transition from the dark of night into the breaking of the dawn, a monumental event is about to take place on the shores behind you. I told you that I did not just bring you into the wilderness to escape. I brought you here to permanently, completely eradicate the enemies of your peace. The Egyptian armies, the spirits of poverty, depression, and failure, have blindly followed you into the center of the sea, completely unaware that the trap was set for them, not for you. During the last watch of the night, during the darkest, most vulnerable hour, right before the sun rises, I am going to look down from the pillar of fire and throw the entire kingdom of darkness into absolute catastrophic panic. I am going to execute the final judgment over your past. But for this permanent destruction to be unleashed, and for the waters to violently collapse over your enemies while you stand safely on the other side, you must participate in a highly specific, ancient spiritual action as the sun comes up. You must know exactly what physical sensation is going to wash over your body when the sea closes behind you. You must understand the staggering, mind-bending transfer of wealth that occurs the exact moment the enemy is defeated, known as the spoils of Egypt. And you must know the exact, specific decree you must speak to claim this massive inheritance. Listen incredibly closely, my sovereign pioneer. The action you take at the breaking of the dawn will determine whether you enter the promised land empty-handed or carrying the absolute riches of the kingdom. Take that final, magnificent step, my beautiful, victorious child. Let your foot leave the seabed and press firmly onto the soft, warm, dry sand of the opposite shore. You have crossed over. You are standing in the breaking light of a brand new day. I want you to turn around right now and look back at the path you just walked. The sky behind you is beginning to lighten. It is the hour of the dawn, and in the spiritual realm, this specific hour carries a devastating, terrifying weight for the kingdom of darkness. It is what the ancient scriptures call the morning watch. As you stand safely on the shoreline, the enemies that have hunted you for years, the generational poverty, the suffocating depression, the toxic relationships, and the relentless, exhausting spirit of anxiety are still blindly rushing into the corridor of the sea, desperately trying to drag you back into bondage. But they do not realize that the corridor was only held open by my grace, and my grace has explicitly, permanently expired for them. Listen to the absolute, terrifying majesty of my word. During the last watch of the night, the Lord looked down from the pillar of fire and cloud at the Egyptian army and threw it into confusion. He jammed the wheels of their chariots so that they had difficulty driving. And the Egyptians said, "Let's get away from the Israelites. The Lord is fighting for them against Egypt." Exodus 14:24-25. Even the demons in hell know when they have been completely, utterly defeated. Your spiritual oppressors are in a state of absolute frantic panic right now. The wheels of their attacks are falling off. The obstacles they placed in your life are suddenly collapsing under the crushing weight of my sovereignty. And now I am issuing the final command over your past. As it is written, "Then the Lord said to Moses, 'Stretch out your hand over the sea, so that the waters may flow back over the Egyptians and their chariots and horsemen.'" Exodus 14:26. I am stretching my hand over the timeline of your life tonight. And with a single sweeping, deafening roar, the massive towering walls of water are violently crashing down. I want you to physically feel the shockwave of this victory. The water is violently sweeping over the chariots of your debt. It is crushing the armor of your depression. It is permanently burying the toxic words, the rejections, and the false accusations that have chased you for a decade. The scripture records the absolute, unshakable finality of this moment. The water flowed back and covered the chariots and horsemen, the entire army of Pharaoh that had followed the Israelites into the sea. Not one of them survived. Exodus 14:28. Not one of them survived. Let that profound, staggering truth sink deep into your cellular structure. The financial panic that kept you awake at 3 a.m., it did not survive the night. The crippling fear of abandonment, it did not survive the night. The deeply ingrained lie that you are not good enough, not smart enough, and not worthy of profound love, it is buried at the bottom of the ocean. You are entirely, flawlessly free. I want you to physically engage your body in this exact moment of triumph. Wherever you are resting, I want you to literally unclench your fists, open your hands wide, roll your shoulders back, and lift your chin toward the sky. Take a massive, deep breath of this new, crisp morning air, pulling it all the way down to the base of your stomach. Hold it for 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. Now exhale with a heavy, profound, audible sigh of absolute relief. But my precious child, the miracle of the Red Sea does not end with the destruction of your enemies. I am not a God of bare minimums. I did not pull you out of the brutal slavery of your past, just to let you wander empty-handed on a quiet beach. Look down at your feet. Look at the shoreline as the morning sun begins to hit the water. What do you see washing up onto the sand? When the Israelites left their captivity, they did not leave as beggars. They left as conquerors. I commanded them to do something highly specific before they began their journey. The Israelites did as Moses instructed and asked the Egyptians for articles of silver and gold and for clothing. The Lord had made the Egyptians favorably disposed toward the people, and they gave them what they asked for. So they plundered the Egyptians. Exodus 12:35-36. And as the bodies of their oppressors washed up on the shore, so did the vast, unimaginable wealth of an entire empire. Heaven calls this phenomenon the spoils of Egypt. For years, the kingdom of darkness stole from you. It stole your peace. It stole your wages. It stole the best years of your youth through anxiety and trauma. But in the kingdom of heaven, there is a fierce, uncompromising law of spiritual economics. A good person leaves an inheritance for their children's children, but a sinner's wealth is stored up for the righteous. Proverbs 13:22. The wealth of the wicked is currently being transferred into your hands. I am initiating the release of the spoils of Egypt directly into your earthly bank accounts, your career, and your physical health. You are not starting over from scratch. You are starting over with the accumulated compound interest of every single tear you ever cried. The massive financial breakthrough that is scheduled to hit your life tomorrow morning is the physical manifestation of this plunder. I am talking about unexpected checks in the mail. I am talking about debts being supernaturally wiped completely clean. I am talking about promotions, approvals, and massive business opportunities that you did not hustle for, bleed for, or negotiate for. The world will look at your sudden, explosive success and they will be baffled, because they will not understand that you are simply picking up the gold that washed up on the shoreline of your deliverance. You must learn how to accept this wealth without guilt. Do not look at the gold and say, "I don't deserve this. This is too much." It is the righteous, legal compensation for your years of suffering. I am financing the vision I placed inside your heart. As the reality of this staggering, massive victory settles into your mind, there is a specific spiritual reaction that must take place within you tonight. You cannot simply sit in silence when a miracle of this magnitude has been executed on your behalf. When the Israelites saw that their enemies were dead and their freedom was secured, they did not wait to cross the entire desert to celebrate. They celebrated on the beach. Then Moses and the Israelites sang this song to the Lord. I will sing to the Lord, for he is highly exalted. Both horse and driver he has hurled into the sea. The Lord is my strength and my defense. He has become my salvation. Exodus 15:1-2. And Miriam the prophetess took a timbrel in her hand, and all the women followed her, dancing and praising my name. You must activate the weapon of praise tonight. Praise is not just a polite response to a blessing. It is the seal that locks the miracle into your timeline. When you praise me before you see the money in your earthly bank account tomorrow, you prove that your faith is absolute. You prove that you trust my word more than you trust your temporary earthly circumstances. I want you to whisper a simple, profound, and deeply powerful thank you into the atmosphere of your room right now. Let the sound of your own voice vibrate with the awe of a sovereign who has just watched the sea collapse on their enemies. You are completely victorious. You are safe. You are wildly wealthy, and you are unconditionally loved. But as the morning sun fully illuminates the vast, expansive landscape in front of you, a new, entirely different challenge is going to present itself. The Red Sea is behind you, but the wilderness of transition is stretched out before you. You are completely free, but you are now walking into an unfamiliar, uncharted territory. The old rules of survival no longer apply here. In Egypt, you relied on your own exhausting, back-breaking labor to get a crumb of bread. But in this new wilderness, I am going to feed you directly from the windows of heaven. Tomorrow morning, you are going to encounter a phenomenon that heaven calls the manna protocol. I am going to drop a daily, miraculous provision perfectly tailored for your exact needs. But there is a strict, severe, and highly specific spiritual rule regarding how you must collect this blessing. When the Israelites saw the manna on the ground, some of them panicked. Because they were so traumatized by their past poverty, they tried to hoard the miracle. They tried to grab more than they needed, terrified that I would forget to feed them the next day. However, some of them paid no attention to Moses. They kept part of it until morning, but it was full of maggots and began to smell. Exodus 16:20. If you carry the famine mindset into your new reality, if you try to hoard the financial breakthrough out of fear, if you obsessively worry about losing what I have just given you, and if you fail to trust me for your daily bread, the blessing will rot in your hands. The fear of lack will literally attract the maggots of decay to your new wealth. You must know exactly how to recognize the manna when it drops tomorrow. You must understand the insidious, highly deceptive way your own survival brain will try to make you hoard it in panic. And you must know the exact ancient rule of the open palm that will ensure your financial and emotional miracles remain fresh, infinite, and eternally replenishing. Listen incredibly closely, my beautiful, newly liberated heir, because the action you take with the very first blessing tomorrow morning will determine whether your wealth multiplies into a generational empire or turns to ash before the sun sets. Settle completely into the pristine, untouchable majesty of this new atmosphere, my beautiful, liberated child. The Red Sea is permanently closed. The chariots of your oppressors, the debts, the depression, the generational curses, and the relentless anxieties that hunted you for a decade are buried under the crushing weight of the ocean. You are standing on the dry, warm sand of a brand new reality. The spoils of Egypt are in your hands, and you are entirely, flawlessly free. But as you turn your back to the sea and look out over the vast, expansive wilderness stretched out before you, I know exactly what your human mind is doing. You are looking at the uncharted territory, and a sudden, quiet wave of intimidation is trying to rise in your chest. You see, in Egypt, you were a slave. You were beaten, you were exhausted, and you were miserable. But in Egypt, your slave masters fed you. You knew exactly where your next meal was coming from, even if it was just a crumb of bread. The slavery was brutal, but it was predictable. Now, you are standing in the blinding light of absolute freedom, and freedom can feel terrifying to a nervous system that is addicted to survival mode. You are looking at the massive, empty horizon and whispering, "Lord, how am I going to survive out here? How am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to maintain this peace? What if I run out of resources? My precious, deeply loved child, I did not violently tear the ocean in half just to let you starve on the dry sand. I do not perform a $1 million miracle only to abandon you to a $10 problem." As you step into the incredible, staggering reality of your new life tomorrow morning, I am going to initiate what heaven calls the manna protocol. Listen to the eternal, unshakable promise I made to the Israelites as they faced the exact same panic in the wilderness. Then the Lord said to Moses, "I will rain down bread from heaven for you. The people are to go out each day and gather enough for that day. In this way I will test them and see whether they will follow my instructions." Exodus 16:4. I am going to rain down provision directly from the windows of heaven. You are no longer operating in the earthly economy, where you have to bleed and hustle for every single dollar. You have been transferred into the economy of grace. The financial breakthroughs, the brilliant creative ideas, the spontaneous healings, and the divine alignments are going to fall into your life effortlessly, like dew settling on the morning grass. But notice the highly specific, divine condition I attached to this miracle. I said, "Gather enough for that day." This is where the massive, staggering wealth of the spoils of Egypt meets the supreme test of your character. Tomorrow, when the explosive financial blessings and the profound emotional peace hit your life, you are going to be targeted by a psychological phantom born from your years in the desert. Heaven calls it the famine mindset, because you have lived paycheck to paycheck, because you have had your heart broken so many times, and because you have survived the brutal famine of the world. Your survival brain is going to panic when the blessing arrives. You are going to feel a sudden, terrifying urge to hoard the miracle. You will want to obsessively check your bank accounts. You will want to build a massive wall around your new relationships to control them. You will try to grip the blessing so tightly that your knuckles turn white, terrified that I will forget to provide for you the next day. You must understand the severe spiritual danger of the famine mindset. Look at what happened to the Israelites, who let their trauma dictate their actions. They did not trust me. They tried to hoard the manna, hiding it in their tents for the next day out of sheer, suffocating fear. However, some of them paid no attention to Moses. They kept part of it until morning, but it was full of maggots and began to smell. Exodus 16:20. My child, if you try to hoard the financial breakthrough out of fear, if you obsessively worry about losing what I have just given you, and if you fail to trust me for your daily bread, the blessing will literally rot in your hands. Fear of lack is a spiritual pesticide. It attracts the maggots of decay, anxiety, and greed to your new wealth. I brought you out of Egypt, but now I must get Egypt out of you. I want you to physically engage your body right now to break the trauma of the famine mindset. Wherever you are resting, I want you to lift your hands, close them into tight, tense fists, squeeze them as hard as you can, representing all the terror, the hoarding, and the desperate need to control your own survival. Feel the exhausting strain in your forearms. Now, on the count of 3, you are going to let it go. 1, 2, 3. Open your hands. Drop your palms facing upward, resting them softly beside you. Spread your fingers wide. Take a massive, deep breath in through your nose, expanding your stomach. Hold it for 3 seconds. Exhale with a heavy, audible sigh. This is the rule of the open palm. Speak this anointed, reality-altering decree out loud into the atmosphere of your room. I release the famine mindset. I do not hoard my miracles out of fear. My hands are open, and my Father's supply is infinite. When you speak those words, you prove to the courts of heaven that you can finally be trusted with the inexhaustible treasury of the kingdom. You are declaring that you believe the magnificent promise of the Apostle Paul, and my God will meet all your needs according to the riches of his glory in Christ Jesus. Philippians 4:19. Not according to the earthly economy, not according to your salary, but according to my infinite, untouchable riches in glory. As you walk forward with your hands wide open, living under the daily, miraculous downpour of the manna protocol, you are going to encounter moments where human logic completely fails. There will be days in this new chapter where you look at a situation and it seems as dry, hard, and impossible as a solid rock in the middle of the desert. A business problem might arise that seems unsolvable. A creative block might halt your progress. When this happens, do not panic. Do not cry out for Egypt. Remember the rock at Horeb. When the Israelites were dying of thirst, they looked at a massive dry stone and saw nothing but death. But I told Moses, I will stand there before you by the rock at Horeb. Strike the rock, and water will come out of it for the people to drink. Exodus 17:6. Water from a rock defies every single law of physical science. It makes absolutely no sense. And that is exactly how my provision will flow into your life from this day forward. The massive financial contracts, the healing, and the divine alignments are going to spring out of the most impossible, illogical, rock-hard places in your life. I am going to use the exact situations that look entirely dead to produce a roaring, life-giving river of abundance. You are stepping into a season of staggering, effortless, logic-defying miracles. The sea is parted, the manna is falling, the water is flowing from the stone. But as the brilliant golden sun of this incredible day of deliverance begins to dip below the horizon, and as the physical world outside your window prepares to transition into the deep velvet indigo of the night, a highly critical, incredibly dangerous spiritual emergency is about to unfold. Your physical body, the vessel that survived the terror of Egypt, the marathon to the sea, and the adrenaline of the crossing, is finally beginning to crash. The profound, heavy exhaustion of the conqueror is settling into your bones. You are desperately craving the healing waters of deep sleep. The enemy knows that you are exhausted. He knows he is completely locked out of your waking hours. He cannot drown you in the Red Sea. He cannot starve you because of the manna protocol. Because his frontal assaults have entirely failed, he is going to attempt a cowardly, insidious ambush from behind. He is going to try to attack your mind exactly when you are the most physically and emotionally vulnerable, the moment you close your eyes to sleep. In the heavenly realms, this specific, cowardly attack is known as the spirit of Amalek. Listen to the ancient warning I gave to Israel about this exact demonic strategy. Remember what the Amalekites did to you along the way when you came out of Egypt. When you were weary and worn out, they met you on your journey and attacked all who were lagging behind. Deuteronomy 25:17-18. The spirit of Amalek does not fight fair. It waits until you are weary. It waits until you are worn out. Tomorrow night, as you lie in your bed, this spirit is going to try to slip into your room and attack your subconscious mind. It will try to project nightmares of your past trauma into your sleep cycle. It will try to trigger a 3 a.m. panic attack, flooding your chest with the heavy, dark residue of the famine mindset, hoping to make you wake up feeling utterly defeated, groggy, and disconnected from the massive miracle you just received. I will not allow the enemy to steal a single ounce of your peace while you sleep. I am not going to leave a single microscopic loophole for the darkness to exploit in the night watch. But to permanently block the spirit of Amalek and legally secure your bedroom against this midnight ambush, you must undergo a highly specific, deeply intimate spiritual exchange before the clock strikes 12. When the Amalekites attacked Israel, Moses could not win the battle by swinging a sword. He had to assume a highly specific physical and spiritual posture. As long as Moses held up his hands, the Israelites were winning. But whenever he lowered his hands, the Amalekites were winning. Exodus 17:11. You must know exactly what the seal of the lifted hands looks like tonight. You must know the exact, specific physical sensation that is about to wash over your body to confirm that my archangels have secured your perimeter. And you must know the specific, uncompromising declaration you need to type into the algorithm of this world to sign the final, heavenly contract before you sleep. If you do not sign the receipt, the royal decree of your night's protection cannot be fully filed in the courts of heaven. Do not let your eyes close just yet. Stay with me for these last few, magnificent moments. The transaction that is about to take place while you listen to my final words will permanently, irreversibly close the door to the spirit of Amalek and lock you safely inside the vault of your massive reward. Listen closely, my beautiful, triumphant heir. We have reached the sacred, untouchable boundary of the midnight hour, my precious, triumphant child. The frantic, rushing, terrifying noise of Egypt has finally ceased. The relentless, exhausting roar of the chariots is buried beneath the ocean, and the agonizing spinning of your own survival instincts has been brought to a magnificent, absolute halt. We have walked together through the deepest, most heavily guarded corridors of your faith tonight. We have parted the impossible waters. We have established the pillar of fire behind you. We have activated the manna protocol and the rule of the open palm. The sea is officially closed. Your season of running for your life is entirely, permanently over. You are standing securely on the dry, warm sand of your promised land, and you are profoundly, unconditionally safe. Now, as your physical eyes grow heavy, as the gentle, comforting gravity of the earth pulls your exhausted, beautiful body deeper and deeper into the mattress, I am going to fulfill the final, supreme promise I made to you tonight. I am going to transition you from the waking world into the deep, healing waters of sleep by administering what heaven calls the seal of the lifted hands. I told you about the cowardly strategy of the kingdom of darkness. The spirit of Amalek waits until you are weary, waiting to ambush your mind the moment you close your eyes. For years, you have fought this spirit entirely alone, because you were born into a life of constant battle. You went to bed every night gripping the invisible sword of your own defense. You fought night terrors. You fought 3 a.m. panic attacks. You fought the paralyzing fear of tomorrow. You have been fighting like Moses on the hill. As long as you held your hands up in prayer, as long as you stayed strong for everyone else, you were winning. But my child, I see the absolute devastating truth of your physical and emotional condition tonight. Your arms are trembling. You are so incredibly tired. Your human strength is completely, utterly depleted. You simply do not have the energy to hold your hands up to fight the darkness tonight. Listen to the breathtaking, majestic compassion of my word. When Moses could no longer hold his own hands up, I did not abandon him to the enemy. I provided a divine, physical intervention. When Moses' hands grew tired, they took a stone and put it under him, and he sat on it. Aaron and Hur held his hands up, one on one side, one on the other, so that his hands remained steady till sunset. Exodus 17:12. I am stepping right to the edge of your bed tonight, and I am bringing the architecture of heaven to support your exhaustion. You do not have to hold your hands up anymore. You do not have to fight the anxiety. You do not have to ward off the panic. I am officially taking over the night shift. I want you to lie perfectly still. Do not try to analyze what is happening with your logical human mind. Just let go and allow my sovereign presence to completely overtake your physical senses. I am taking the solid rock, the unshakable, immovable foundation of Jesus Christ, and I am placing it directly beneath your weary soul. Sink into it. Let the mattress take 100% of your physical weight. You do not need to support yourself. Now, focus all of your attention on your arms and your shoulders. In this exact fraction of a second, I want you to feel a sudden, magnificent, and deeply comforting sensation of warmth on both your left and your right side. It feels as though two massive, warm, heavy hands of pure, glowing light have gently taken hold of your arms. Do you feel that grounding, radiant pressure? That is the physical manifestation of my seal. I have dispatched my chief angels to act as your Aaron and your Hur tonight. They are holding up your spirit in the heavenly realms so that your physical body can completely, totally collapse into rest. Feel that radiant warmth begin to slowly, beautifully spread inward. It is moving across your chest and traveling up into your throat, completely dissolving the tight, agonizing lump of unspoken tears and the suffocating silence of your past trauma. The heat is traveling up into your jaw. I am commanding the muscles you have kept rigidly clenched to finally, fully surrender. Part your teeth slightly. Let your tongue fall away from the roof of your mouth. Let your jaw completely drop. Feel the warmth wash over your forehead, instantly smoothing out the deep, etched lines of your survival mode. The heavy, frantic static behind your eyes, the endless, terrifying calculations of how you are going to survive tomorrow, is melting away into a vast, quiet, beautiful, and pristine darkness. Now, feel the light pouring down your spine, melting your lower back and your hips deep into the mattress. Feel it pouring down your legs, all the way to your feet, grounding you, anchoring you, and making your entire physical vessel feel so incredibly, wonderfully heavy. As this divine warmth completely envelops your body, a profound physical sigh is naturally going to escape your lips. Your biological rhythm is chemically shifting right now. You are no longer taking the shallow, panicked chest breaths of a slave in Egypt. You are taking deep, slow, rhythmic belly breaths. You are inhaling the pure, untainted oxygen of your deliverance, and you are exhaling the last, lingering toxic ash of the wilderness. The atmosphere in your bedroom has been fundamentally, spiritually altered by my presence. Listen to the ancient, ironclad guarantee I am speaking over your room tonight. In peace I will lie down and sleep, for you alone, Lord, make me dwell in safety. Psalm 4:8. The spirit of Amalek has looked at your lifted, supported hands, and it has fled in absolute, paralyzing terror. The towering angels of the heavenly host have taken their absolute positions. There is a magnificent flaming being of light standing at your door, and another standing at your window. Their swords of heavenly fire are drawn. No demonic force, no spirit of lack, and no deceptive nightmare from the enemy can even approach the perimeter of your room. You are hidden in the cleft of the rock. You are resting safely under the impenetrable, majestic shadow of the Almighty's wings. While your physical body sleeps tonight, experiencing deep, profound cellular repair, I am going to be spectacularly busy on your behalf. The spoils of Egypt are actively pouring into your earthly timeline at an incredible velocity. I am aligning the exact coordinates of your massive financial breakthrough. I am working on the hearts of the people who hold the keys to your next elevation, ensuring that when you wake up, the path is entirely, flawlessly cleared, and tomorrow morning, everything changes. I want to mentally rehearse tomorrow morning with you, so that your newly healed nervous system knows exactly what to expect. When the sun rises and your eyes open, you are going to wake up completely devoid of the morning dread. That heavy, dark, suffocating cloud of panic that usually greets you the second you regain consciousness will be permanently, entirely gone. In its place, you will feel a bubbling, electric spring of quiet joy and profound relief. The light filtering through your window will seem softer, yet infinitely more vibrant. You will take a deep breath, and the air will actually taste sweet. You will stretch your limbs, and you will feel an incredible, unexplainable lightness in your bones. You will wake up with the distinct, undeniable realization that the Red Sea is closed, your enemies are gone, and the universe is wildly, beautifully conspiring for you. Do not forget the instruction I gave you. When the manna drops tomorrow, when the staggering, unprecedented financial and emotional blessings begin to hit your life, you will not panic. You will not hoard it in fear. You will activate the rule of the open palm. You will drop your shoulders. You will smile with the icy, unbothered peace of a sovereign hair. And you will trust that my supply is infinite. But before you completely surrender to the deep, healing waters of the Delta frequency tonight, we must lock this entire massive spiritual overhaul into the physical realm. In the eternal laws of the kingdom, a revelation requires a physical action to become an earthly manifestation. Faith is not just a passive emotion that you feel in the dark. It is a bold, public declaration. You must seal this covenant with an act of uncompromising agreement. The Red Sea has been parted in the spiritual realm, but it requires your earthly signature to formally activate the delivery of your reward. I do not want you to let this video simply end and fade into the background of the algorithm. I brought you here, to this exact second in time, to orchestrate your permanent liberation. I put the words, "I am about to part your Red Sea" on your screen because I knew you were finally ready to stop staring at the water and start walking on dry ground. If you receive this total healing, if you accept the destruction of your enemies, if you are ready to enforce the rule of the open palm tomorrow, and if you are ready to receive the staggering, mind-bending financial and emotional overflow of the spoils of Egypt, I want you to make your digital signature right now. Scroll down to the comments section and type these exact words with absolute, unwavering faith. The Red Sea is parted. My hands are lifted. I receive my miracle tonight. When you type those words, you are striking the gavel of my justice over your own timeline. You are officially notifying the spiritual realm that your history of poverty and panic ends with you. You are registering your faith in the highest courts of heaven, and you are sending a blinding flare up into the darkness, notifying the angelic host that your house is secure, and you are ready for the massive delivery of your reward. And because you are stepping out of the shadows and taking up your royal mantle, you need to stay permanently connected to the source of your strength. I am asking you to subscribe to this channel right now. By doing so, you are planting a permanent, unbreakable flag in the soil of your promised land. You are ensuring that whenever the world tries to lie to you, whenever the enemy tries to trigger the famine mindset, my voice will be right here, waiting to remind you of your royal, untouchable identity. Do not walk into this new high-altitude reality without your spiritual anchor. Stay connected to the faithful that are gathering here. Finally, I ask you to perform a profound act of kingdom rescue. I stepped in to be your Aaron and your Hur tonight. I held up your hands when you were too tired to fight. Now, I am asking you to do the exact same thing for someone else. There is someone out there right now, a friend, a co-worker, a family member, or perhaps someone you haven't spoken to in years, who is lying awake, staring at the ceiling, feeling completely crushed by the exact same weight of the approaching chariots that you were carrying just an hour ago. They feel entirely alone. They think they are going to drown. I want you to hit the share button and send this specific message to them. You do not need to explain the profound depth of it. Just tell them, God told me to send this to you so you can finally sleep. He is fighting for you. By sharing this, you become the literal, physical conduit of my miracle in their life. You become the one who holds up their hands when they are weary. You prove to heaven that you are ready to be an infinite distributor of grace. Now, my precious, brilliant, exhausted, and fiercely loved child, our work here is completely done. The contract is signed. The sea is parted. The enemy is defeated, and your hands are perfectly open. Close your eyes. Let the muscles in your face completely soften one last time. Sink so deeply into the mattress beneath you that you feel entirely weightless, cradled by the very hands that spun the stars. Do not hold on to a single thought. Let your mind drift on the vast, warm, endless, brilliant ocean of my grace. I am right here. I am not going anywhere. I will watch your chest rise and fall, I will guard your dreams against the shadows. I will prepare your massive, reality-altering blessings for the morning light. You are safe. You are so incredibly, perfectly safe. Breathe deep. Let go. Sleep now, my beloved child. Peace be unto you. Now and forevermore. Amen.